Before we start the show, I'm excited to announce that we have a new sponsor for this podcast, and it's DocRx. DocRx is a family-oriented company dedicated to tailor operational solutions for patient health and compliance programs that increases the quality and efficiency of patient-centered care, and always with the mission of the patient's health first. With over 10 years of experience helping doctors and their patients with diagnostic testing, patient monitoring, medical supplies, compliance, wholesale pharmacy, physician dispensing, billing, and much more. DocRx is your patient and health compliance solution, both under one roof. To find out how DocRx can help you, your hospital, pharmacy, or physician's office, see all their services at docrx.com. That's DOCRX.com. Now on to today's show.
And I think people try to go too much business or overthink it instead of just being genuine and real and going with the talents that God gave them.
Yeah, that's what worked for me. I mean, I was 35 years old before I figured it out, but as soon as I started trying to be myself and to live how I wanted to live, that's when I found success and a type of happiness that I never really knew before. If I did have several $1 million in the bank, I would still wake up and do exactly what I'm doing right now. I'd keep on writing songs and painting pictures and find a way to get an audience for them.
Sir, that sentence you just said is probably the best message that has come out of 110 shows. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Today we have Abe Partridge. This is a person who went from being a Baptist preacher to finding where he is, at the same time being a father and a husband, and then serving time in our military, which he still does as a reservist. But what he's done is created facets of himself, of God-given talents, that he's turned into businesses. And besides all that, according to the American Songwriter Magazine, Abe Partridge has established himself as one of the most respected songwriters and visual folk artists in the Southeast. And today, he's on our show. Hey, I'm Karen. I'm a former CPA, entrepreneur, business consultant with big ideas.
Welcome to Cheers to Business.
Abe, I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We've been doing a couple of shows lately. First, it started out turning your hobby into a business. Then it turned kind of into turning your passion into a business. You've gone from preacher, military, folk art, storytelling, business person. I was thinking about doing this show with you today. I was thinking turning your talents into a business. Tell us about your talents.
I guess what I have a particular passion for is telling stories, and I do that through writing songs and painting pictures.
Now, you had your first gig at a songwriters event in Gulf Shores. Was it at the Floribama?
No, it was actually at a place called oh man, the name escapes me right now, but it was at the Wharf. You know the Wharf?
Yeah.
The place is not in existence anymore, but it was like a restaurant where they had a big stage in the restaurant.
It's kind of across from the Ferris
wheel.
Right
on the corner.
Yeah. So you go and you have your first gig besides playing in front of your wife and your mom. And
yeah.
So then somebody from Nashville, and you start going to Nashville, and all of a sudden you're making a record. Then you make a second record and it gets picked up. Tell us about it.
Well, I had been writing songs since around 2008 or so. So I had been writing songs about 7 years before I ever started really trying to put them out in front of people. And then when I did, it just happened to be at a night where there were people there that were in a position to help me. And so I played this show, and then a guy named Sean Byrne, he's a guy from Nashville. He has a studio up there, and he invited me up, and we recorded some music, and I started touring around, playing it everywhere. Initially my strategy, or my I guess you could say strategy, was I'd never turned down a gig. I just said yeah to everything. I don't do that anymore, but that's the way I started. And then and it just grew from there. I ended up making another record, and it got picked up by Skate Mountain, and then that kind of just blew it into a different stratosphere. And now that's really what I do. I mean, prior to coronavirus, the way that I made my living was touring and playing shows and selling art and stuff.
Now, did you have a full-time job while you were trying to do all this?
Yeah, I had a full-time job. In 2015, when I started, I was working full-time for the federal government as a civilian employee. I'm also a military reservist. I've been in the Air Force Reserves now for 13 years.
Okay. My dad was retired Coast Guard reservist. Now, I'm going to cheat because I kind of looked you up. I didn't stalk you, I promise. And so you went to religious school. I know there's a word for it. And you realized in 2 years that it took me 25 years to realize I didn't want to be a CPA anymore. It took you 2 years to realize you didn't want to be a Baptist preacher anymore. And that's a hard thing.
Yeah, it was one of the darkest times of my life. And it wasn't just 2 years. I was actually a preacher for 9.
Okay.
I was a preacher for 9, but I pastored a church for the final 2 of those.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a long, agonizing process, especially when you, like you said, I went to school. So I was in college for 4 years. And then, I got married. I had 2 children. And so by the time I was ready to leave, I was 27 years old. I kind of already made my bed, At least I had felt that I did.
I've always believed that everything that happens to us in our life leads up to something, and so we have to learn from it. I think you have to take every facet of your life, even if it was hell at the time, and throw God into the mix. I just had tax returns. You had God in your mix, so that was heavy.
Yeah, it was heavy.
So how do you think that time plays into what you do now?
It was absolutely critical. I mean, it was going through that time that I only started writing songs and painting as a way to as a form of escape. Really, it was like an exploration of of my own self, and like it was finding myself, and that's why I turned to art. So what I'm saying is I didn't do art for any kind of commercial reasons. I only did it to deal with my own struggles. So if it had not been, if I would have, I don't know, landed somewhere more comfortably, I probably would have never even started down the path I'm on. But I got in the thick of it, and that's kind of where I found myself.
One time I was asked to give a commencement speech at a small college here in town, and I had an hour and a half because I was a plug-in. The person that was really supposed to do it couldn't make it, so they asked me. And it turned out, they said, just tell your story. And I found myself repeating over and over, I just did what I had to do. You do what you have to do.
Yeah.
And so when you find yourself out, you joined the military and then got shipped to the desert.
Yeah. So I found that songwriting and painting helped me cope with my situation. But I never thought in a million years that that would be something that I could do to, support my family with. So I moved back to Mobile and moved into my mom's house with my wife and 2 children.
You mean you did all this? You got the college degree, you pastored a church, you went through a tough time, dark time, and joined the military, and the whole time you got 2 kids and a wife?
Yes, I got a wife and I had 2. I've got 3 now, but at that time I had 2. We loaded up everything we had in a U-Haul trailer, and I moved in with my mom. And so I took a job for Pilot Insurance Company over there off of Hillcrest, and I was making the minimum wage working in the mailroom. So I had to find me some way to make a living, and I needed a marketable skill, at that point in time is what I thought. I needed something that I could make a living out of, because, a theology degree doesn't get you very far outside of the church.
Right.
And so I went to the different, I went to every different services, all the services recruiters, all 5 of them. The Air Force offered me a job training in avionics. And so that was, at the time, out of all the services, that I felt like that would give me the best opportunity to have something to make a career off of after I completed my training. That's why I joined.
It wasn't a spur of the moment impulse decision. I mean, you researched to see what was going to be the best for your family.
Well, yeah, I needed a job skill is what I needed to find a way to not live in my mom's house with my wife and 2 children anymore.
I've done that. It's not good. I didn't know how to make frozen vegetables with the water.
Yeah. I love my mother, and I'm thankful for her, but I don't want to live with her. You know?
My daughter, her two kids, and my son-in-law had to stay with us for a little while, so I appreciate both sides.
Yeah.
So our podcast anyway is about business. I love business.
Yeah.
I love growing businesses. Do you realize the businesses that you have right now going on?
I've thought of myself pretty much as an as an artist, and the business side of it kind of repulses me, but it is what I have to do to feed these children I have. So yeah, I do focus, unfortunately I have to try to sell my stuff now where, for many years I just created and created and created. I stacked paintings in my closets and I wrote songs that I sang to the walls in my house. But then, so in March 2019, I left my job. So I've really had to kind of focus on ways to turn my art into money.
So see, that's why people coexist so well, if they just trust the other people that have the other circle of talent. So you need me to degrudge and get the stress out of my life. I need people like you.
Well, I'm fortunate. My wife is really good at the business side of all this. And so we kind of work as a team, really. I do a lot of I do all of the, creating and stuff. And then my wife, Kathy, she handles the vast majority of the business side of what I do, and my social media and all that is all my wife.
Well, I'm happy to meet you, but I'd really love to meet your wife. How strong a woman she must be.
Well, we met in Bible college, and she married a Baptist preacher. And then after 7 years of that, then she became a military wife. And then after about 7 years of that, she became a traveling artist wife, and she's been married to the same guy the whole time. So she is a trooper.
And now she's a business manager.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So you need to pay her.
Yeah, I do. She takes all my money. I usually have about $5 in my wallet.
That's your allowance, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Johnny was telling me something interesting that I didn't know, is that you have part of the art side of the business in talent is you have an art club. Tell me about the art club.
Yeah. So prior to coronavirus, I made the vast majority of my income was made on the road. I would go play music shows, and then at the shows I would set up and I would sell my art and my music and things related to that. Then coronavirus came, and everything got canceled. I had this idea to start this art club. I got the idea because I'd seen other people start these things on this website called Patreon, and they take a percentage of the money that you earn on there every month, and also that they require that you upload your content to their website. And so I started it through my own website. I found out I could do a subscription-based art club through my own website, which I use on Bandzoogle, which is our provider. And so I started this art club, and people pay me $29 a month, and in exchange I send them a print that I make for that club every month, and it's signed and numbered to however many members we have. And we said we were going to cap it at 100, and I think we got like 94, 95 people now. So we've only got just a handful of slots left. But so the way I make money has shifted from being on the road to fulfilling the art club packages every month.
Well, a couple things I took out of that whole conversation right there is, one, I love recurring revenue. Keep it coming in consistently and growing. All right. I love owning your own stuff. You own your art. Somebody else, and you're not going by somebody else's rules. I hope every listener out there that has thought about doing something like this is listening, because that's some of the best tips that we could ever give. And it's natural coming from you because you're real. And you even do your own shipping, right?
Yeah, me and my wife, we set aside 2 days, and her mother actually comes over too. So me and my wife and my mother-in-law all sit around and we make these packages every month. It takes a couple of days. It beats paying somebody else to do it.
I have kind of a couple businesses, one with my brother, one with my husband, one with my daughter. And so I know how that family business kind of can go sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's really
Yeah.
about trusting the other person to do what they're the most talented at. So, I kind of said it a second ago, the tips for people out there. What are 2 or 3 tips that you can think, of how to get your talents and so that you're actually making a living from it and therefore turn it into a business? Or warnings. You can give warnings too.
I guess what I would say is if you have to think about that, then you're probably in the wrong game.
That is so brilliant. That's
what I think. I mean,
yeah.
It was just like playing music and doing art was something that I was going to do if I was the only person that was the consumer of it, That being the case, like if one other person in the world appreciated my art, I'd be happy. But the fact that I have many people out there that like, and some of them would probably say love what I do, makes me happy.
No, man, that's so deep and so real. So, Abe, this is all audio. We don't do video, at least not for this one today. And so describe your art for people. How do people perceive it?
Yeah. What I do is I paint on roofing tar that's spread over different objects like wood or vinyl or metal or tin or whatever I can find, and then I carve images and onto the tar, and then I paint them. And people call it folk art. Some people call it outsider art. I never took an arts class or nothing. I don't really properly know how to describe it in an art framework, but I just I paint stories is what I really do. I just paint stories on tar, and some people say that it's unique.
I think it's probably got some symbolism in there somehow.
Yeah, I use lots of symbols. I use colors and shapes and objects and different things and then I put words on my paintings a lot, and to kind of fill in the gaps to tell stories.
So how do people find your art?
So I have a website called abepartridge.com, and I run everything from my website. And then, we carry, we put a lot of stuff on Instagram and Facebook. And pretty much that's the main way that I interact with my audience.
But you've had stuff at University of South Alabama hanging, and I think also Mobile Museum of Art.
Mobile, yeah. Alabama Contemporary Art Museum. It was in the movie called Dr. Sleep, which was a Stephen King movie. It's been at the Eastern Kentucky University. It's been, so many galleries, I can't even think right now. I'd have to go back on my calendar and look to tell you where all it's. With my art, I'm still at that place where when people say, "Hey, do you want to do it?" I just say, "Yeah." So I end up at a lot of places.
The fact that that's your answer is so telling in what a genuine human being you are, and that's what I keep getting, whether it's through the music or you're just telling you. And I think people try to go too much business or overthink it instead of just being genuine and real and going with the talents that God gave them.
Yeah, that's what worked for me. I was 35 years old before I figured it out, but as soon as I started trying to be myself and to live how I wanted to live, that's when I found success and a type of happiness that I never really knew before.
Sir, that sentence you just said is probably the best message that has come out of 110 shows.
Well,
it's
the truth according to my perspective.
Yeah, no, I have found the same thing. I did what I had to do, and now I'm doing what I love. And the podcast is part of it, but being a CFO for so many companies and just helping businesses, whether they're mine or not, it's what I love to do, and it's not work.
Yeah. That's it. If you found that, to me, I would rather have exactly what you have than to win the lottery.
Yes, sir.
Because if you, and that's the way I feel, because if I did have several $1 million in the bank, I would still wake up and do exactly what I'm doing right now. I'd keep on writing songs and painting pictures and find a way to get an audience for them.
Yes.
And so,
yes, sir.
I feel really blessed.
You and me both. And the people in our families that are our backbones and strength.
Yeah. Yes.
So how did your art first get discovered?
Well, I had started playing songs in 2015, and going up through 2018, I had been kind of getting a larger footprint and gaining a bigger audience. And so I got this record deal with Escape Mountain Records, and they hired me a publicist and a manager. And so my manager was from Seattle and my publicist was from Athens, Georgia, and they both flew in and they came to my house. This would have been in the latter part of 2017. They came to my house and they were talking to, they sat down with me and my wife cooked a bunch of chili, and they talked to us about how we were going to roll out my record and marketing strategies or whatever for my album. And while they were there, my wife only let me hang one piece of my art in our house, because people that haven't seen my art knows that it can be off-putting to a lot of folks. And she didn't really want us to hang art all over my house, but I had one piece by the door. And so as my publicist and manager, my publicist was named Michelle Roche and my manager was named Jeff Wooding at the time. And they were walking out the door and they said, who painted this picture right here? And I said, well, I painted that picture. And they said they really liked it. Did you paint more? And so I went back to this closet and I pulled out, 50 or so paintings that I had made, and they started flipping through them and they said, well, you're going to have an art show. And that was the first time, in 8 years that somebody looked at my art and told me that they liked it. And so I said, well, let's do it. And so I had an art show in February of 2018. Everything that's happened in my art career has happened since then. So it's really only been like 2.5 years, really. Like I said, I made it for 8 probably with no audience whatsoever. My own family didn't really even think that much of it.
I tell you what, once we can go out again, I'd love for me and my husband to sit down with you and your wife. But Johnny, you can come along too.
Let's do it. I'd be glad to.
I want to come to one of your shows. So when do you see any, light at the end of the tunnel as far as getting to do gigs again?
Well, I've played one or two here and there. I played one at the beginning of October down at the Listen, or what they call the People's Room of Mobile now, but it was half capacity. It was only 40 people, but I did that one. And
well, you used to only have one, and that was you. So I think that's an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah. I just played last Friday night. I was playing in Danville, Kentucky, which is right outside of Lexington. I played there and had a real good crowd and a good show. And I'm seeing they're starting to come in more. The gigs are starting to happen again, but they're really kind of they're not reliable. And I thank God I don't have to rely on them to make my living anymore. I love doing them, but it's not essential for me to pay this rent every month.
Right. So where do you see the and this may be a little too personal, but where do you see the biggest source of income where it's coming from to, pay your rent?
Well, it's the art club now. The art club is really essentially like my only steady income that I have. Since I quit my job, I had no monthly income. I just played shows. So I'd go out and, I was playing between 2 and 3 weeks. I'd be out 2 or 3 weeks a month. I'd be traveling from town to town and playing music all over the country and in Europe. I go to Europe every year. And then I would come home and I'd hope that the wad of cash I had was bigger than what my rent and my car payment was. And, it always was. And then my wife is like a squirrel. And so she puts up every time we have them over, she puts it up. And so we're okay, but been okay without that art club. We're in the new state of the world.
So do you think, how it all fell into place? Because I don't believe in coincidences. I just don't. The way everything fell into place, so you had another source of income. Because there's so many musicians out there that don't have that. And now they don't have anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of buddies. I got a lot of friends that are musicians that are having to go get part-time jobs, or it's really terrible time to be a musician.
Well,
Really terrible.
if any of them are looking right now, I started a logistics company a couple months ago, and me and my husband, and we're looking for drivers. Pays $12 an hour, 30 cents a mile. I need a picture of the driver's license and proof of insurance.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you got 2 or 3 calls after this podcast goes out, because I got loads of friends that are musicians. Is that only in Mobile, or?
No, I just looked down at my phone and we got notified that Louisiana just went to twice a day. We have a run to Florida every day. Got a guy in Atlanta that's meeting a person in Montgomery from Mobile, and tomorrow starts Birmingham, Demopolis, Hattiesburg, Macomb, Mississippi, Hammond, Louisiana. We got the whole damn Southeast in 2 months, and it's because of COVID.
I got friends in almost all them places.
All right,
so
I need
never
one.
Know what might happen. I got friends all over the place that are musicians. That I mean, I'm serious. I wouldn't be surprised, especially in Birmingham. I know several people that ain't got no jobs in Birmingham.
I need Birmingham to start tomorrow. So anyway, let's get back to the show. But hopefully, it's all about connections, man. I mean, look at you and who you met at that very first songwriters event. It was the people you connected with.
It was just a whole lot of really fortunate circumstances that all just collided, make it. And what I'm doing now is I'm standing on the shoulders of people. Sean Byrne is a guy in Nashville, that guy that I initially met in 2015 at my first show. He's produced both of my records and several singles for me, and I stay in his basement every time I'm in Nashville, and he's used all of his connections to help my music get out to bigger audiences. My publicist, Michelle Roche, has been with me since late 2017 and she's went out on a limb for me so many times and elevated my career to a point to where it wouldn't have been without her. And without, like Skate Mountain and just without all the people that have come and got behind my art and helped me to expand my audience. So it's not just, like you said, it is about connections. You got to find other people that believe in what you do and have the means or the connections to help you get your stuff to wider audiences.
That's pretty cool, because you cannot do it without the people. So tell me the name of your records.
So the first record I ever put out, which really I don't even consider it so much as my first record, because it only exists on the 1,000 CDs. And other than that, they cannot be found anywhere in the world. And
that's limited edition. Now you can dig them out, and they're worth more.
Yeah. Well, you can put them on eBay, and I think somebody sold one on eBay for $1.99, so it's not really that holiday. But I had a buddy of mine write me. He was like, "Hey man, I just bought your first record on eBay for $1.99." I was like, "Oh, nice." But it was called White Trash Lipstick. I made it a month after my very first show.
That sounds like my high school days.
Yeah. I got a song called White Trash Lipstick.
I'm going to go look it up as soon as I get in my car. You know that.
Yeah. And then my second record, which I really deem my first record that you can find on all the streaming platforms and whatnot, that one's called Cotton Fields and Blood for Days, and that's lyrics out of a song I wrote called The Ghost of Mobile.
I'm now a fan, and I haven't heard that one yet, but I'm definitely going to go look it up. I want to know when your next show is in Mobile, because I'll be there.
I have something booked. Hold on, let me look at my calendar. I'm going to be playing at the Merry Widow December the 12th. That's a Saturday night.
I am going to be there.
It's going to be like it's going to be like an all Mobile show. It's going to have Red and the Revelers and the John Hall Trio, and then myself.
All right. So can people go buy tickets to that? Because I want to get it. That's going to fill up. I mean, you guys are going to sell out.
Yeah, it's going to sell out, but they're not on sale yet. But you'll just have to watch the social media for the Merry Widow.
Okay. I want to be there, and I'm going to be in the front row.
Just make sure you got a mask on.
Do I get to put a hole in it for my straw for my drink?
Yeah,
like the trumpet players or at the football games, they got a hole in their mask. What the hell is that
Did they
all
really?
about? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. How stupid is
They
that?
put a hole in there.
They got a hole in it.
Oh man, I gotta. Oh man, that's great. I need to look that up.
I know, right? So I need a little flap, like you know how pajamas where the butt flap comes up. I need me a straw flap so I can put my straw and drink my drink.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got to wrap this up. We could keep talking, Abe. I tell you what, I appreciate you so much and where you are and I appreciate where you've been. I look forward to where you're going to go.
Well, thank you very much. It was an honor to be here.
On this show, we give a cheers, and I ask the guests to do that too. Cheers to something good. And so today, my cheers is to life struggles that, if listened to and with self-recognition of who you really are, you can ultimately evolve to where you need to be.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself.
All right, Abe, what's your cheers for the show?
Cheers to being yourself at any cost.
Well, Abe Partridge, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And one last time, tell people how they can find you.
www.abepartridge.com.
All right, go people.
Please be sure to subscribe to Cheers to Business podcast on iTunes or anywhere else that you get your podcast. Visit our Facebook and be sure to give us a like. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us an email from the website cheerstobusiness.com.